Welcome to the Q&A for October 2022. This is my second time going through here and going through the first, 5 questions because I just recorded it all and forgot to hit the record button. Well done me. Anyways, background footage for today is a really killer attack helicopter run I had, basically by myself in 2042. I know people like Roblox Jojo, and I really was seriously considering trying to clickbait and throwing in some AUT footage or just straight up playing AUT for the whole thing, but I had this run that I didn't really have any good place to share, and I didn't really want to play AUT, so this is just what we're working with today. In regards to AUT and Battlefield, my videos have been hemorrhaging viewers because I'm not playing YBA. That's a surprise to nobody. So what I will ask you guys, which I don't normally do at the start of videos, is that if you're not already subscribed, I'm basically begging you at this point to do so, and I would really appreciate it if you like the video, if you enjoy my content. I could seriously use all the help I can get with the algorithm right now, so any little bit helps. With the shilling out of the way though, let's jump into the questions. The first question comes from Vador, who I think has been in Q&As before, I'm not sure, and they say, "This part isn't a question, but I just wanted to say that the non-YBA videos you've been making lately are some of your best content to date IMO." Thank you, Vador. Their question, though, was overall, who do you think makes better JoJo Bizarre Adventure games? Officially published games like Eyes of Heaven and All-Star Battle, or fan-made games, which is basically just Roblox? And this is a really good question, and the one I wanted to start off with, because I think that the current state of Roblox JoJo games is really sad. And you know what's even more sad? The state of actual JoJo games. Because All-Star Battle R, that didn't go over so well. I think the interesting thing about the Roblox JoJo games, or at the very least pretty much all of them that I've played, is that while they are technically fighting games, they're not really fighting games. There's a lot more to them than fighting games. And I think that's one of the big issues that all of the JoJo games that have come out so far seemingly have, and that's that they're all just kind of traditional fighting games, bar Eyes of Heaven. And the thing about traditional fighting games is that not a whole lot of people watch them and not a whole lot of people play them. That's just the way it is. I think they're really cool and I think they're really important in gaming culture, but that being said, the player base and viewership for a lot of these games just isn't there. And so really the thing about Roblox games, especially Roblox JoJo games, is it's this clear giant market that just isn't tapped by anyone. And I think the reason it's not tapped by anyone is because the actual genre of game is either non-existent, or at the very least, I've not really seen any games like it. It's like the Wild West of video games in terms of it being explored. I mean, if we just look at AUT or YBA, those games are like GTA free roam meets competitive fighting game meets collecting game. Like it's so many different things at once, but all of those things come together to form something truly special that we just don't really see anywhere else. And unfortunately, at this point, I think we're just likely to never see it. The next question comes from H_M, and they say, "A question I've always had has been, how have you managed to shape your personality and humor this way? Maybe you're like this only on camera, but I have a suspicion that's not true. In the end, I love everything you put out, man, even the lazy content, lol." Thank you, H_M, and this question is always weird to me, and I don't really know how to answer it most of the time, albeit this question itself, the one that was asked, is a little bit different than the one that I'm probably going to respond to, but it's more so about the whole in front of camera, off camera thing, and how a lot of people can't see the difference between the two. And that makes sense because, well, you don't see me off camera, so you don't really know me, even if you think you do. But to answer the actual question you've asked, I don't really think that the internet or anything recently has shaped my personality. I think my personality itself has been shaped by the events of my life, and to spare you my entire life story, that's pretty much the end of the conversation there. The only difference being that I wasn't really able to express myself very well on the internet when I first started out because, well, it's hard to do that when you're just staring at a camera and you're new to the whole YouTube thing. But after a little while, I got better at it, and you guys got to see a better representation, I suppose, of how I at least like to see myself. via my videos and my editing and my streams and all that. But as for the on-camera, off-camera stuff, I think it's interesting to note that a lot of the stuff that I do for videos isn't stuff that I would have done otherwise, and because of that, the reactions I have are genuine, but they're also not, because there's a camera there and I have to have a reaction. You have to understand that if I'm just playing a game by myself and something falls through the floor, I'm like, that's kind of funny, and then I move on with my day. But if we're on camera and I know other people are watching and something falls through the floor, I'm gonna have a reaction, I'm gonna linger on it a little bit, and I'm gonna think, man, that would be funny for a video. And the funny part about that is I think that I almost treat the camera as if there are people currently sitting behind me watching me. Because if I was playing a game and people were actively watching me and something fell through the floor, I'd be like, yo, did you see that it just fell through the floor? That's funny as shit. And I'd sit there for a little while. And so I think when it comes to on camera versus off camera there's just nothing. There's very little reaction because there's nobody there. It's just me alone in my room, you know? But even if I'm still alone in my room, but there's a camera there, it feels like there are people there even if they aren't. That's the best way I think I can describe it. Our third question comes from That One Weirdo Ray, and they ask, hey, just a general quick question so you can move on to the other questions faster. Do you plan on doing more videos with your community like tournaments via other games? If so, what fun ideas do you have in mind? Also, I've been watching your content since the middle of quarantine and you've always put a smile on my face through hard times, so I wanted to share my thank you for that. Anyways, keeping awesome and much love. Thank you, That One Weirdo Ray. Unfortunately, the answer to your question is no. As of current, I don't really have any big plans or plans at all to do any more big interact with my viewers environments, kind of like the tournaments. And it's mostly because I don't really have any ideas, and the ideas that I have gotten from viewers and stuff are so much of an intense undertaking, they would not be worth it whatsoever for me, and so I just don't do them. I did enjoy the old tournaments back in the day to some extent, especially commentating legitimately good matches. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But unfortunately, there's no game like YBA that I can do that with that I'm playing at the moment, so obviously that poses a problem. And even back when I did it with YBA, we had no support from the developers at all, which made setting things up difficult. Thanks, Uzu and the development team. I can't really say I totally blame them for not supporting our little grassroots tournament stuff, but like, come on, they didn't even fucking try. I'm not really surprised, but like, you get the idea. It made things more difficult. And because of that, I was reliant on random people every single time coming into tournaments, and a lot of them would just be bad, and then the matches would be bad, and it would be hard to commentate, so you kind of get the idea. It just wasn't worth continuing to go forward with, so I cut it out, and now I've pretty much quit YBA anyway, so don't expect anything to that regard. Next up is from Lorenzo Rivers, and they say, hi Eclipse, I love the content you do. You're one of the few content creators that stay genuinely funny IMO. Thank you, Lorenzo. Their question was, how have you felt after the overall shift to non-Roblox Jojo-based content? Because I've noticed you seem a lot more free and comfortable with the videos you're doing, and I support it. I really like the videos I've been working on so far, and I'm proud of just about all of them. That being said, it's not without its stresses, obviously, especially with the massive view drops, which I knew were coming, but like, it still hurts to look at. Subscribe, by the way, thanks. But regardless, I said it on my Twitch stream earlier today when I was recording this, and I'm gonna say it again here, but I don't regret, and I don't think I ever will regret, quitting YBA in particular, because that game just is so anti-consumer and seemingly hates its own player base so much, or at the very least is so indifferent to the people that are keeping their game alive, that I just couldn't do it anymore. And because of the person I am, I would rather kill my entire career, and you can say this is stupid if you want in the comments, feel free, but I would rather kill my career entirely and just drop it off a cliff than to continue to support something that I don't believe in. I'd rather go back to being a listless 22-year-old who doesn't understand what the hell they're gonna do in life and is just kind of wandering around than be disingenuously promoting a game that does not care in the slightest about those that play it. That being said, if I wanted to keep views up, I think I could very easily do that without YBA by just playing other Roblox Jojo games, but I haven't been doing that mostly because I'm just kind of tired of being Eclipse the Jojo guy or Eclipse YBA. I want to just be Eclipse, and I don't think that'll ever happen at this point. I don't think it ever can happen, but I really just want to be a creator. I don't want to be specifically tied to these Roblox Jojo games, and I want to have people that watch Eclipse, not Eclipse YBA. I don't think there's much more I have to say on it than that, though. Next question is from Ali Shadow, and they say, do you think the YBA developers will get out of the idea of just adding skins to the game and fixing? No. I'm not going to read the end of this. No, they won't, because people love skins, baby. I love skins. Next is from A1919K, that's quite the name, and they ask if you ever had a chance to work on a game, how would it be and how would you do it? Love your content and stay safe. This is a really loaded question in that I would spend all day answering it, so I'm not gonna try. But I will say, there are a few things I've thought about when it comes to if I was creating a game, and I don't actually know the answers to them, and so maybe you guys can throw your ideas in the comments if you've got any, because I don't. But one of the things that almost bothered me in YBA, but I also kind of liked, was their prestiging system. I think the idea of resetting your levels or resetting your progress in some way in order to progress further is pretty good, but the problem with YBA is that you just have to do the same thing over and over again, and it's not fun. But I just don't think there is any way to make it fun. So if I had a game and I wanted player retention to stay up, do you keep prestiging in and just make it tedious? Or how do you make that kind of thing work? I really don't know. Jay Dralid, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, they ask, I've been wanting to ask for a while now, do you plan on making more Battlefield guide videos? I watched your BF4 anti-vehicle video and it helped me out a lot. However, I've noticed that there are a few things that I don't really know how to improve on other than just to use it for a long ass time. Example, flying helicopters. By the way, your content slaps and keep up the good work. I'm gonna be honest, doing any sort of guides for Battlefield 2042 has never one single time since the game released come to my mind, just because of how abysmal the viewership was for that Battlefield 4 video and how terrible the viewership has been for Battlefield 2042. I think I could make some killer guides because at this point I've gotten so much information on the game and I've played it so much, and I mean, you were asking about helicopters and you're seeing like a 60-something kill run solo in an attack helicopter, so I must have some idea of what I'm doing, right? But regardless, as much as I think it would be fun and I think I could help a few people with some guides, I don't know if I would, just because viewership is already bad. Do I want to make it worse? Probably not. Maybe I could blow up off of a well-made guide or on something that somebody hasn't made yet, but 2042 doesn't really have the viewership even outside of my basically non-existent viewership, because even the 2042 creators, what little they are, don't get many views because the game isn't that popular. I will say that I'm really, 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 really glad, and it warms my heart, and when I first read this comment, I was like, this has to go into the video no matter what, because I just had to show how happy I am that my BF4 anti-vehicle guide helped anybody, because I made that video and I put so much time into it, and then after it flopped, and I knew it was gonna flop, I was like, well shit, I just spent so much time of my life and no one's ever gonna see this, and those of them that are going to see it aren't gonna give a shit because they don't even play the game. So I'm really glad it helped you, but I don't know about guides in the future for 2042, we'll see. Next is from BunnyBen87, and they say, hello Eclipse, I enjoy your content very much. I wanted to ask, how did you discover most of the games you play on the channel? Does not necessarily have to be played anymore. Well, I guess we could do a rundown on all the games that I've played recently. Subnautica was a game that just kind of existed for a while, and then it was free on Epic Games, so I got it then, and then I just held on to it for a long time, and people were suggesting it, and I was like, hey, I own that game. So I guess that's how I found that one. And apparently it's got a big base of people that play and watch it, but I had no idea, honestly, until I'd played it. Battlefield 2042 and Battlefield 4 and all those games. I've been playing Battlefield games since I was a kid, so it's pretty much almost expected that I'd still be playing them now. It's just a franchise I've always really loved. Escape from Tarkov I got into when a lot of other people got into it. There was this big fad time for first-person shooters where Tarkov was like the thing, especially on Twitch. And during that time I was like, hey, that looks cool, I should try that. And then that's how I got into that. And of course, YBA and those kinds of games. I've told this story before, but I'll tell a shortened down version of it. I was playing random Roblox games with some of my friends, and one of them, my friend Corey, was like, hey, we should play this game about Jojo. And I'd never seen Jojo, I'd never played a game like it. We just joined in, farted around for a little bit. I thought it was kind of cool. I left, I was interested to continue. I went back, and then I just kept playing and kept playing. And eventually I got really, really into it. And yeah, the rest I suppose was history. Coming up towards the end here, Ace Info says, do you show any interest in class shooters like TF2 and Overwatch? Also really enjoying the new videos. Keep up the good work. I'm surprised I didn't see more Overwatch comments, but then again, maybe I shouldn't be surprised considering that that game is a bit of a dumpster fire. Overwatch 2, Overwatch 1.5, Overwatch, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'll start with the Team Fortress 2 one. That game's okay, I kind of like it, I've played it before, but I'm hesitant to get into any sort of content creation with the game because the TF2 community has a pretty awful track record with how it treats creators that played the game and then tried to move on to other stuff. And I'm already dealing with that for YBA, so I don't think I want to deal with it again. As for Overwatch, I played the original Overwatch when it first came out for quite a while, and then I just kind of got bored and didn't want to play anymore, and I think I quit out at the right time, because apparently things got a whole lot worse and it became a shield shooting simulator. Glad I got out when I did. But regardless of the state of Overwatch 2, I just don't have any interest in playing it because I already played that game before. I don't feel the need to play it again. And also, the thing that I mentioned in my Twitch stream, and a lot of people have asked me to play Overwatch 2 over there, is that I mained support back when I played Overwatch. My main characters were Mercy and Ana, which for all intents and purposes, especially Mercy, who I played the most, is not fun at all to watch. A very, very boring character. I've talked about on many occasions how I've always liked playing support roles in games, and Overwatch was no different. So it wouldn't be fun for you guys. I don't really have any interest in playing it, so it's just not likely. And the last question is from Sir Sushi, and they say, hey Eclipse, love the Battlefield videos. I wanted to ask if you have tried the new AUT public testing. What do you think of the reworks, combat changes to the game, and do you think these changes help the game compete with YBA? Short answer, I don't know. Long answer, well, I've been a little bit involved behind the scenes, but I've kept it pretty low-key. One of the developers on the AUT team a few weeks back reached out to me and was like, hey, do you want to come in here and check out our new combat rework? And I was basically like, not so sure about that one, Chief, because I've told the story before. I don't want to keep dragging them through the mud, but I had a very, very negative experience when it came to testing AUT before. I basically felt like nothing I said mattered and I was just wasting my time, and so I left and hadn't really looked back. And so when they asked me effectively, do you want to test this? I was like, I'm not so sure about that one. But eventually I was like, sure, at the very least I'll take a look, but I can't promise anything. I went in, took a look at it, thought it was at the very least far different than what we had before, gave my general consensus thoughts on the stuff that I saw, and I haven't really looked at it since then. I really only had one opportunity to take a look. Or not that I didn't have an opportunity, but more so I just only ever felt the need to take a look once. I think almost anything will be an improvement over the M1's V3 system, which was just awful, like really bad. So hopefully with what they've got going on over there, as long as the control of the game remains good and you don't get stun simulated and they just dispose of M1 V3s, I think the game will be in a generally better state. As for whether or not it will make the game compete with YBA, no, I don't think it will. but I do think that it will be a step in the right direction, and I think it's mostly necessary for what's hopefully to come in the future, but I mean, only time will tell. I don't know. I say it won't really help the game directly compete, mostly because AUT's big problems don't just stem from the combat, although that is probably the biggest. It also has basically no progression system at all, which doesn't really keep people playing. You go in, you get whatever stand you want, and then that's the end of the game, most of the time for most people, and I think that's why we don't see very much AUT nowadays. So if they fix their combat and make a more meaningful progression system that makes you want to play for longer, then I think they've got a good shot. But until that happens, I will definitely be taking a look when it comes out. But yeah, that's a wrap on the last question that I had though. This one went for longer than I thought it would, but that's usually how these go. For the third or fourth time this video, if you got this far and you're not already subscribed and you haven't liked the video or left a comment, please do those things. I'd really appreciate it. With those things being said though, I'm done. So have a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.